another week of the lookout as we get into the playoffs, now deeper into the playoffs, the divisional round, as Chris Berman calls the greatest weekend in football. But we hope it lives up to that. We got some good matchups, but that depends on the matchups and the situation. So, as I said, we got everybody back, and this time John's joined us. Good old Johnny Boy Smith joined us this week. So there's four of us talking 4 games plus the college football national championship. So 5 games to look at all together. We won't waste no time. We will go right to the Saturday games first, and obviously some big matchups on Saturday. Both the Detroit and Kansas City coming off of their byes that they earned the regular season. They will be on display tomorrow night. The first matchup, the two-time defending champs will host the Houston Texans. This is a rematch. In fact, 3 of the 4 matchups in this round are rematches from the regular season. And this will be an interesting one. Obviously, for Houston, they probably pull off the biggest surprise of the wild card weekend by destroying the Chargers in the second half. Obviously, for the Texans, they're coming back to Kansas City. They played a really good matchup the first time there, despite losing Tank Dell to a very gruesome injury. But obviously, they're coming off a big win. Now, the last time these two teams met in the playoffs was in 2019, and it might have been the most weirdest game I've ever watched because both teams at one point trailed by 3 scores. By 3 scores, both teams. But at the end, it was Kansas City that did the beatdown after Houston did the beatdown early. So I doubt that that's going to happen in this matchup. And obviously, the players in Houston, especially Houston, are not here from that matchup. So, like I said, go to this matchup. It should be interesting. This is the Buck and Aikman game. We'll be on different networks, all 4 of these games. So get to this first matchup.
Okay, well, I mentioned to Kwame when I signed on, I'm over here cooking dinner. So when I talk, you guys are looking at a black screen, unless you want to watch me doing a bunch of weird stuff. But besides that, this weekend, it's a weird one. There's a lot of big spreads for a playoff weekend. 8.5, 9.5, 6. I mean, the only game that's got a reasonable spread is the Bills, and I mean the Bills game. The Bills are at home and they're giving up a point. So I think Vegas knows something. I think there's going to be maybe not a lot of upsets, but there's going to be a lot of close games here, and they're trying to bait people into, betting another way. I mean, the bottom line, KC, they don't blow anybody out, almost never. We've seen it all year. Every game's a field goal. Playoffs every year, every game every year is a field goal game. They're giving up 8.5 points against Houston, and I know Houston's been disappointing this year. CJ Stroud hasn't lived up to the hype. The receivers are injured. All of a sudden, Deontay Johnson's back on Baltimore.
Yeah, that's a mystery in its own self.
Yeah, he's a goof, man. But I mean, they picked him up, and within like a week, they're like, "Yo, we don't want this clown on the team." So his career might be over. But yeah, even so, I don't know. Something tells me this is going to be a close game. Houston's not going to win it. Obviously, when you get to a close game with KC, that you also have to contend with the rest, and Houston just isn't that good. But I think it's going to be a tight one, man. I think it's going to come down to the last couple minutes. And when you're talking about an 8.5 point spread, I mean, if it were me, I'm going Houston here on the spread. In terms of the game, I'm going KC. So I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this one, but it's going to be tight. I'm going to say final score. I'm going to say 30-26.
All right. There is. Yeah, this game, as the NFL keeps trolling us by putting Houston at Saturday 4:30. Um, just loves that time slot for the boys. Um, they had a great game last week, beat up on the Chargers. Defense really stepped up and just shut him down. Uh, so as you said, they're 8.5 point dogs out here in KC. The What I see happening, and it's a game I can't touch, but I actually kind of see the Chiefs covering 8.5. I think they're going to come off a little shaky the first quarter, maybe or two, since Mahomes hasn't played in like almost a month. But Kansas City's defense has stepped up this year, and it's going to be cold. And Houston ain't prepared for the cold. I know they got Mixon, but he's not a bruising running back. And their offensive line is okay. So I can't see a way where Houston can pull this off, and I'm not sure they're going to stay too close. So I think the Chiefs, the 27-13 win.
I mean, on the lookout, I did, or on the look back, I did choose the Chiefs to cover. I because the Chiefs have Mahomes, they got even Kareem Hunt, they got a good coach, they got Travis Kelce, they have all bunch of weapons. Do I think Houston's going to be able to, perform on their defense like they did last week? I just don't see it. It's like I really think that the Texans are going to barely be able to maybe even muster 2 touchdowns. And the Chiefs are going to have, 4 touchdowns, and that means they'll win by 2 scores. But that's really how I see like this game going, meaning that this game they should, finish comfortably and win this game and move on to the next for the Chiefs. But they also got, Chris Jones. He should be able to come back and play on the defense. And, if the Texans, like, if Stroud was playing like he did last year in this game, I might be different because, then Tank Dell would be playing and other people. And I just think, like, that this team's just not the same as last year. So, yeah, by my own reasons, uh, that the Chiefs are going to win 34-17.
And if I may add about the weather, today, right now, it's 45 in Kansas City. Pretty nice. Winds are coming in tonight. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, 24 degrees.
And that's not even cold for them.
Well,
That's even colder than what it can be.
Oh, for the Chiefs, yeah, but for Texas, they play in hotter weather usually.
And the dome.
Yeah, they're a dome team. Remember that. But like I said, I'll be quick here. I mean, obviously, these are two teams that they know each other, but they don't know each other. Obviously, these two teams met just before Christmas, and that was an interesting game. Also played on a Saturday, not as early as that game was. That game was played about 1 o'clock, like a normal day on Sunday. But this game is a 4:30 start. I mean, obviously, what has to happen is that Houston does have a solid defense. We kind of underestimated them defensively throughout the year, and obviously they can put a cap on Mahomes. It could be a battle where it could be tough to score points early, and I think that helps C.J. Stroud and to Texas offense. Plus, Joe Mixon is a better road quarterback than he was a home quarterback. So him on the road could be interesting to watch. But I agree with Matt. I think this is going to be one of those games where, as close as the Chiefs have played not to lose, but not to get beat. Like they play tight enough games that they find a way to win. Refs do something, they pull a penalty late, and they find a way. How many times this year has Kansas City gotten away with games that they shouldn't have won? And I think this is going to continue. I mean, in my lifetime, since 1986, Houston is the only franchise to never make a conference championship game, the only one. Now, like I said, if they win this, they break that spell. But I doubt that they're going to do that in Kansas City. I think Kansas City's going to pull it off. Uh, but I'll give C.J. Stroud a lot of credit, and he'll play a decent enough game to make it interesting. But like I said, I think Houston's going to come up just a tad short. So give me Kansas City and the final score 27-24.
I mean, I'll add a couple things here. The first one is that Joe Mixon does not play quarterback.
Yeah.
Second one is that I actually agree with Matt, though. You know, a lot of this year, the Chiefs, you know, they've been in these close games, and probably the refs did help them. They probably should have lost at least 4 games this year. I'm pretty sure you guys can probably all agree with me. But I don't know. It's like they have. I don't know. My coworker at the gas station, I'm sure one of these days he'll be on. His name is Bob, but I don't know. He doesn't like technology, but you know, he's a Chiefs fan, and he says like, you know, now we get to the playoffs, and Andy Reid, you know, he has a lot of things that come out of his magical hat, and he's got the frozen mustache, and you know, he just is a coach. You know, we could say that he didn't really help us succeed as an Eagles coach, but you know, we eventually got the championship later down the road, but it just you know, I just think like just the Chiefs are just gonna they'll win by 2 scores, not just because I picked them. I just think that they should, you know, win comfortably in this matchup, and just like the Texans are missing something. I just think you know, the Chiefs on offense will be able to stop Will Anderson, so on defense.
Yeah, well, I'm not even getting into the like matchups and everything with this game. I mean, I know you said, oh yeah, the Chiefs, Andy Reid. I mean, the bottom line, I mean, they barely snuck past the teams like the Panthers, the Raiders, you know, garbage teams. And I know that the Texans aren't great, but legit playoff team. Obviously, they showed that last week. They can play, and they're going to be competitive. D'Amico Ryans isn't going to let this team fail and get blown out. On top of that, you talk about the history with the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. It's every game's the same. It comes down to field goal, and at the last second, you know, the Mahomes and the refs and whoever else, they need a last second field goal drive and win the game by 3. So, you know, I don't see this game being any different, and I just think that with the general consensus seems to be that the Chiefs are just going to come out and blow them out, and that's what Vegas is expecting. You know, they don't want people taking
I don't know if they're gonna. I'm not gonna say they're gonna win like 38-10. I don't think that's gonna happen.
maybe no. I don't mean that. I don't mean like a blowout. Okay, blowout is extreme, but you know, 8.5 point spread. I mean, come on, this is going to be a 1-score game. But I do have the Chiefs winning, but it's going to be a tighter game than people think.
All right. Well, you probably hurry it up here. Obviously, the nightcap on Fox tomorrow night, the Detroit Lions, 15-2 this year, like the Chiefs. Obviously, they won the NFC North in a interesting tight battle with Minnesota of all teams, but we know Minnesota's gone. But they're facing a team that might be the most dangerous team in this postseason, and that's Washington. The Commanders obviously coming off a tight win in Tampa last week. Jaden Daniels, he's going to win Rookie of the Year. Hell of an upside, already above what RG3 ever did with that franchise, and has a legit chance to do something here. Could be a very interesting deal here. tomorrow night. But obviously, Detroit's been rolling all year. They've been the team to beat all season in the NFC and maybe in the entire NFL. But obviously, they haven't faced Washington. This is the only matchup of the four without that's not a rematch. So this should be very interesting, and the vibe will happen very quickly. It won't take long to figure out will Washington be a threat or not. And obviously, of course, one of us here looks very forward to this matchup because, like I said, the Eagles will obviously watch with collective breath. Could the NFC Championship game be here in Philly next week if circumstances go a certain way? And one of them already has that threat. But the rest of y'all will pick here as well. Big matchup here. Top team versus the top rookie. Interesting. And also the only indoor game of this weekend. So that also plays a factor. Go ahead to this matchup.
All right. Well, look, I said there's 3 games. 3 of the 4 games have pretty big spreads, and this is number 2. This is 9.5 points. Rob, you took Washington with our Wednesday picks. Johnny B called the pick in late, potentially, but he got it in time on the deadline I set. He took Detroit, giving up 9.5. Um, I'm not, dude, in a playoff game, 9.5 points. I don't like that. I don't like that. Again, I think there's going to be a major upset this weekend, and I think this could be the game. Um, Jaden Daniels has been lights out in the second half, well, all year, but dude, the last like month at least into the playoffs, he's been tearing up, and um, this team, Washington, they're not a great team. They're not a great team. Okay, they're going to go down, but Jaden Daniels is awesome, and um, he has the most comeback wins in the regular season and regular season and playoffs combined when trailing in the fourth quarter by an NFL quarterback since 1950. Okay, um, he's including
Defeated
last
the
week.
Eagles during that as well, during this
Yep,
streak.
they did. Yep, including last weekend too in the playoffs though against Tampa. Um, I mean, the guy can do it all. He can run. He can pass. He's probably going to lead his team in both passing and rushing. He's a great player, and Washington, the day they drafted him, before the draft, I told you he was the best quarterback in that draft. I told you Caleb Williams was a bust, and Jaden Daniels was going to be awesome. And I said I was praying that the Bears took Jaden Daniels instead of Caleb Williams. But either way, Washington's on a 5-game winning streak. They're coming in hot. Detroit's, they're Detroit. They're the most one of the most talented teams in the NFL. But dude, I think Washington's coming in here hot. I think Jaden Daniels is just playing out of his mind, and I'm going Washington with the upset, not just covering. I think they're good. I think this is the upset for the weekend. Someone's going to get upset. It's not going to be all home teams winning. So I'm going Washington, pulling it off just barely. I think Detroit goes up. It might happen again. Detroit goes up, and Jaden Daniels leads them in the fourth quarter, and Detroit comes back shocked. And we know Detroit. When was the last time they won any NFL championship? 1950 something? I don't know.
Yeah, 1957.
7. Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just like the Vikings, they're used to losing, and it's just going to be another year for them. So, Washington pulls it off. Upset alert for me. Final score, I'm going to say 29-26.
All right. All right. So this game, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Oh, that's going to be a nice one. Um, when Washington beat Tampa, I said, okay, they can pull this. They might be able to go to Detroit and pull this off. Here's the thing about Detroit. Yes, they are 15-2. The 2 losses were at home. it was to Tampa and Buffalo later in the season. And we just saw Washington beat Tampa, get their revenge from the loss to them earlier in the season. And Jaden Daniels is golf is number 2, the best, second best completion percentage, 72.4. But Jaden Daniels is number 6 at 69%. And he's putting up 209 yards a game, golf 272. So we do know golf has better numbers than Mr. Daniels in that department. But what's the difference? One team's defense is beat up. Now, they had a nice week off. I haven't heard of any of those. I think many of the people that are out, that I saw out, are still out. Like some are IR. Let me know if you know of anybody returning that I don't know about. And Washington's defense was pretty good Sunday. Sunday. And also, to show how much I think Washington is going to pull off the upset too. I said, well, it keeps disappearing, but not one, but 2 triple play tickets. One of them I got Washington on the money line. The other one I got the +9. So I'm picking Washington because I think Detroit's going to turtle up and fall down. 27-24 Washington.
Okay.
Funny where my mouth is.
Yeah, well, you're definitely going to win one of those spreads or one of those things.
Yep.
I don't know which one, but what I will say is that I do agree with the consensus with right now with us that this will be a close game. So most likely your +9 is probably going to hit. But what I will say quickly is that that the Lions, they just they scare me right now, and they have a pretty good offense. The defense is banged up, but maybe that's their downside. But I don't know. I mean, the game that I went to go see, Washington, they didn't play their greatest versus us. They scored a touchdown late, but that didn't matter. I think it was to Ertz. It really didn't matter. But Daniels is probably gonna win Rookie of the Year, and I think he's gonna have a pretty good game. He's probably gonna have a monster playoff game, and he's gonna maybe even be that do-it-all quarterback in this game. I'm just hoping that that the Lions, they either pull it off or they gotta contain them too. So they're the favorite for the reason, and that's why I was still gonna go with the Lions, but I do think Washington covers. I'm gonna go. I think it's gonna be a high-scoring game. I'll just say 31-24 Lions.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, everybody's kind of looking forward to this matchup tomorrow night. I mean, I am as well. I'll be working, but I'll keep a close eye on this. I mean, obviously Detroit we know their story about their defense. A lot of guys have struggled with the injuries. 12 guys on IR. I don't know if some are coming back or not. But obviously, you got to give a lot of credit to Aaron Glenn. I mean, he's going to get a head coaching job. And Matt, we will discuss that on the look back next Wednesday. We were going to do something we've never done before, but we're going to do. But I'll mention it at the end of the show. But at the end of this, but obviously, he's done an exclusive job keeping this defense together with all the injuries. Obviously, Aiden Hutchinson's the biggest one, and this team won 15 games, and most of them they beat down people. Now, obviously, one thing y'all haven't brought up about Detroit is their running game has been lethal this year. They're a two-headed monster with Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery, and obviously Montgomery has struggled with injuries, but
He's
according to
out.
reports.
He's playing, dude.
What?
He's not playing. Montgomery?
The rumor is he might play in this game. That's the rumor I'm getting from people. But
Yeah,
obviously
they
Jameer
rolled
Gibbs
out
is.
early in the week.
But Jameer Gibbs have obviously done a hell of a job, and that's one thing that has helped this offense throughout the year, and defensive have struggled with has been their running game. Now, obviously, we watch Washington a lot. Obviously, as a division rival, and Jalen and Jaden Daniels. But we also know that without Jaden Daniels, Washington's not much of anything. We've seen how he's done, and he had to do a lot to beat us late in the season. I mean, you know, Jaden Daniels, he can't do everything. If he's gonna have to be Superman in this matchup because I think even though Detroit's defense isn't in the greatest shape or anything, and he'll be able to move the ball and he'll score a couple touchdowns. This is one of those games that you think it's going to go one way, it's going to go the other way. It's one of those. It's one of those ticky tack games, and I mean it's going to be a battle. I think Washington's going to give them their best chance. I can see Washington leading this game at times. I do. I can see them getting off to a fast start or even having a big lead for a little bit. But Detroit's one of those teams that just there's a reason why they are where they're at, even above the Eagles, because of why because they find a way to while it down, and they find a way to make plays, and they find a way to win. And like I said, I'm not saying that Detroit's the best team or whatever, but they did win 15 games this year. That's not a mistake or excuse. They found a way, and they've deserved what they've gotten this year. And even though I think this will be a battle, I just see where Washington's just going to come up a little bit short. I mean, can Jaden Daniels join Mark Sanchez, Ben Roethlisberger, and Joe Flacco as rookie quarterbacks in a conference championship game? Why not? It has happened. Yeah, and some are lesser quarterbacks. But I just think for this matchup, it'd be a colossal failure if Detroit doesn't win this game. If they don't win this game, it's a colossal failure. And they're not going and that head coach, they're not going to let that happen with that fan base and that head coach. Yeah, their history tells you no, but this is not the Detroit Lions of 2008. They're a different Detroit. We've seen them. We've seen what they're capable of. They'll find a way in this game. So I'm going to go with I agree with John here. I'm going to go with the Lions here. We're all split. Doesn't matter. I expected it anyway. So Lions win and the final score 37-30.
Okay, so we all think it's going to be within the spread. One thing I'll say though, you know, dude, you're talking about the Lions. We saw it last year. Dan Campbell. This guy's just going to gamble. He's on the level of Nick Sirianni, right? He's going to go for it. Okay, that could be the difference in the game. It could be whether they win or lose or cover or not. I mean, hey, if they go for it on fourth down every time and they get it every time, then great, they're going to win. But he does something
Washington
stupid.
does Washington does the same thing. That's going to be a really interesting game. There might be no punting again.
True. Yeah, true. There's a lot of coaches that are going that way, but I mean, Detroit does it more than anyone. We saw it last year in the NFC Championship game. I mean, they pretty much had that game locked up and still went for it. It cost them probably the Super Bowl. They probably would have won it last year. So I just think I think he's a little bit too much of a wild card. I think Washington is going to cover, and I think they're going to pull off the win. I just see a quarterback in Jaden Daniels who it's just a big game quarterback. Jared Goff. Come on, man. I mean, we've seen him play we've seen him play in the Super Bowl and fold. I mean, we've seen him play in the NFC Championship and okay, maybe. Playoffs, okay, maybe. And he's not a big game quarterback. And that's the difference when you're talking about playoffs with just NFL teams in general, whether or not your quarterback can really put the team on their shoulders and win it. And I just don't think Jared Goff can do it.
Yeah. And Montgomery, I looked up, has been a full participant, so he's looking
Oh, wow.
forward to trying to
Yeah.
play.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay,
Like I
Rob.
said,
What?
it'll be interesting to see here tomorrow night. I mean, like I said, for Eagles fans going to Sunday, if Washington can pull off that upset, it could be a fool's gold kind of a day on Sunday for all of us, knowing that we get a we get another three postseason games in the same consecutive at home. I mean, obviously that would be great for everybody. To me, I'd be happy. I'd be happy and disappointed, but the disappointment would not overshadow the happiness for everybody else because we get a chance. We get another chance. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right.
Disappointed. To be disappointed in what?
I want to see a road. I want to see a win on the road against Super Bowl. But that's
Who
okay. It's okay. If
cares? A
Washington,
win is
it's
get a
fine.
win.
It's
That's all that
fine.
matters.
It's fine. Yeah, and, it's fine because you know we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. All right, we're all gonna watch. We're all gonna watch.
Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
We're all gonna watch.
All these years, I still don't understand you. All these years.
You never understood me since the day you met me.
That's
All
what I
right.
said.
All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. We have Sunday games, and obviously, I don't know which way you want to go. Do you want to do the Eagles game first or not?
We
We
always
can
do
go.
them. Do them
We can go in
last.
order.
All right. All right. We're going to go to the big matchup. This is the game of the week, the biggest game. Everybody's just jerking for jerk off on the biggest game of the year. The top two MVP contenders. Y'all might disagree, but this is what winner of this game. Even if they don't win this game, somebody will win the MVP. But this is the big one here: Baltimore, Buffalo, Lamar, big game, Josh, best quarterback in the league this year, in my opinion, versus the best rushing quarterback of all time. These two been on a collision course since week 4. Week 4, Baltimore blew out Buffalo. I doubt that that's going to happen in this matchup. Plus, the game is in Buffalo. Weather, hey, I heard, oh, it's too cold. Kiss my ass. It's January. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. You have to handle what you have to handle. And obviously, we'll see what happens here. Biggest matchup of the weekend, probably the biggest matchup here. Some betting experts and some people say winner of this game can take out Kansas City next week and potentially take out whoever wins the NFC. So, a lot on the line in this matchup. Lots on the line here. Bragging rights, MVP, league MVP, and potentially a trip to Narlands, even though that might be a little bit too much of a far fetch right now. But biggest matchup of the weekend by far. And how big is it? The home team is a dog. There's a dog in this game. So, like I said, does my Ravens pull it off, or does Buffalo and Big Game Josh finally steps up to be that big gamer when it matters? Last game of divisional rounds, Sunday night. Go ahead.
All right. Well, um, yeah, this is going to be a good one, man. This is the one evenly matched game, I would say, talent wise, of the weekend. And I mean, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to be a tough one. Josh Allen, like you said, these are the two top contenders for MVP. The only guy you could even make a case for is Saquon, but MVP is a quarterback award, so it really doesn't matter. He's out. So, um, um, but Josh Allen, he's top 40 combined touchdowns for the fifth straight year. The Bills' offense, they've become the first offense ever to rush and pass for 30 touchdowns each in a season. I mean, this is just a balanced offense that can really put up points. Baltimore, Same deal, man. I mean, they brought in Derrick Henry. He's got 16 rushing touchdowns. Uh, Lamar Jackson's putting up big numbers, obviously, since he's an MVP candidate. Um, this is a really evenly matched game. Um, to me, you know, this game's in Buffalo. This is the difference where it's at. It's in Buffalo. The fact that Buffalo is the underdog in this game is insane. Um, I think they're going to take this personally, man. I think they're going to come out, and we've seen Lamar Jackson over the last few years not necessarily perform up to his in the playoffs up to the standards that he set in the regular season. Going up against Buffalo, Sean McDermott, really good defensive coach. He's going to have a plan. Um, I don't know, man. I think Buffalo's going to take this one personally. That they're underdogs. We saw with the Eagles back in 2017 when they were underdogs every round of the playoffs. You know, they're not going to like it. And those crazy fans, I don't know what the weather forecast is up there. Maybe snow. I don't know. I know here we're supposed to get snow in Philly on Sunday. Um, but yeah, I think it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. I think Buffalo's going to be pissed, and I think Buffalo comes out and wins it. I'm going to say final score. I'm going to say 33-24.
Okay. Um, the Ravens. But I'm muted. Okay. Yeah, but the Ravens started this week +1, and the money came in and moved it to -1. So it's a 2-point swing. That's huge in the playoffs for the money to do that and for them to be on the road. And full disclosure, also Baltimore is part of my triple play. And I see Baltimore pulling this off because one, the number one rushing team in the country. It is going to be 22 degrees, is what I just see now, with a 90% chance of rain or snow tomorrow. So I'm gonna have to do some shoveling overnight. But the 22 degrees, the cold, the extreme cold. I mean, Baltimore is not a warm city. I mean, obviously they're right below us, so they're used to cold air. You got Derrick Henry and you got Lamar running. So they don't have to put the ball in harm's way too much. They can run through them when Josh Allen's obviously a great runner, also a big bruising runner, but their overall running game is not that spectacular. He's going to have to be put the ball in harm's way, and he has a strong arm for throwing distance. What Lamar has, what I like about Lamar's release, he has one of the tightest spirals with the quickest release with the flick of his wrist. That's designed to cut through any of that wind that may be an issue, and especially for short 15 and 20-yard distances. So I already kind of revealed that I'm going with B Moore going up to Buffalo, and it's not an upset because they're the favorite. And also Lamar is number one in passing rating. I mean, not even close. Like number two, he's 119, and number two is 111, which is Jared Goff. The 108 is Burrow. Um, so and Josh Allen is eighth, 101.4 there. So Baltimore, score low scoring affair, 2017.
Okay.
No, I'll make mine really quick, but it's a battle of the two quarterbacks. One of them is going to win the MVP in the AFC. They got the rushing edge goes to Baltimore. Receiving, you can make a case for either team, but I'd probably go with Buffalo. I mean, it really doesn't matter with those kinds of statistical things, but as far as a game goes, Buffalo's at home, and you just can't really bet a game against Josh Allen, especially the way that he's been playing. And this might be my interesting game of the week out of all of them. Not just because of how this spread is really close. I think they're like two really good teams. But I think Baltimore they come up a little short. Um, I just think they'll get like a late game field goal for Buffalo. So I got a really close game, and the defense. I don't know if the Ravens are. I mean, they're comparable to the their Buffalo's defense, or yeah. So I just think this will be a close game. The score is going to be. It's going to be really tight. It's going to be like 24-20 Buffalo.
Kwame, what was your pick? What was your score for the game?
T17 ball B more.
Oh, 2017. All right. Well, we're going to be all in Splitsville again, and of course, naturally for me. But like I said, these two teams met in week 4. The last night I lived in my old house, and that game was in Baltimore. It rained a little bit. That game was actually shown on NFL Network yesterday. I was watching, and Baltimore smoked them, 35-10. It was the biggest. It was a beatdown. Now we're all in agreement that will not happen in this matchup. One, it did that was in September. That was September 30th. It was in the 60s that night or 70s. Here, it's going to be in the low 20s with a brisk wind, about 20, 30 mile an hour, and it's going to be much different. You're going to have to run the ball. You're going to have to pound the ball. One thing that Matt did not bring up is that Buffalo also set what almost an NFL record for the least turnovers in a season, 8. They only had 8 turnovers, at least when Josh Allen played the full game. So they don't turn the ball over either. This is going to be tough. I mean, these two teams did meet in the playoffs in 2020, and the Ravens lost that game. It was a low-scoring game. Lamar made a couple mistakes. That was a game that they could have won, but Lamar made a few mistakes. Now, obviously, yes, he has not done well as a postseason quarterback, and obviously in this round has hurt him a lot. But I just think that when you look at the Ravens, they're almost like the Eagles to a degree, running the ball, play tough defense. I mean, the Ravens since December 1st have given up the least amount of yards and the second least amount of points in the league. So for Josh, big game Josh, who has scored 30 points, an average of 33 points a game this year, it's going to be tough to maneuver. It's going to be a very tough maneuvering. You know, Obviously James Cook is his running back, and James Cook has done well. He's done very, very well. He's like Saquon. He is a second half runner in games this year, even though he doesn't get as much recognition. So we got to watch out for him. Uh, when it comes to receiving, I mean, I'm going to go with the Ravens above them, but obviously Zay Flowers is out for this matchup. He's out for this matchup. So, unfortunately, that hurts there. So Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Bateman, and a good friend of ours that we should know, all of us, Nelson Aguilar. So a lot to look into that. But I just think this is going to be one of those crazy back and forth games. Like I said, if it's even, it's Steven, as they say. So I say this game goes to overtime, and one of these quarterbacks going to have to make a mistake, because you think if they haven't put the award in, maybe they're saving this matchup for that award, because the award won't be announced until the Thursday of the Super Bowl. So I mean, it might already be in, but it's the Thursday of the Super Bowl when they will announce league MVP. But at the end of the day, I just see where somebody's going to make a mistake and throw a bad interception. And it's hard to say which one, but if you go with your heart and your head, sadly, it might be Josh Allen, and that's where Vegas is going with. They think he's going to make a mistake, and the Ravens will take advantage of it. This game might remind me of the game in 2012 when the Ravens went to Denver and played Peyton Manning, and nobody gave them a chance in that game. And then the floater from Flacco to Jacoby Jones. This game goes into overtime. They went to 2 overtime. They played a part of 6 quarters of football, one of the longer playoff games in recent memory, and the Ravens won on a field goal. But it was a late touchdown that saved their season, and they went on. It was also in the divisional round, and then they crushed Brady and Belichick the next week in New England. So can see the Ravens doing this again. But whoever wins this game is going to have a legit chance to get to New Orleans. And I think the Ravens are going to find a way. I don't know if it's going to be as similar to the 2012 matchup, to the 2012 game that they won. But I say Ravens will sweep the Bills for this season in a tight one, 30-27.
Yeah, I don't buy it, but I will say, I said last week the winner of the Notre Dame Penn State game was going to win the national championship. The winner of this game is going to the Super Bowl. So,
We'll see. We'll see. Now that leaves us to our matchup here. Of course, it's a rematch from November. Same 2 teams. The only difference is it's a day game. It's in Philly, but it's also on NBC just like the first one. So all the NBC characters will be there. And like I said, Matt Stafford and the Rams, they've turned it around. They're a second half team just like a year ago. And they've pretty much been the last couple of years since he joined the Rams. But the Eagles, what can we say? Defense is tough. Saquon's going to be ready. I think Jalen Hurts is going to play a tougher game than last week. He played pretty pedestrian. We can all kind of agree. Maybe Kwame may not agree, but he played a pedestrian game. Not the best that we can see out of him. But with another weekend in and not worrying about the concussion, we're going to see what Jalen can do here. One thing we know he can do, he can run the ball, something Sam Darnold couldn't do last week and in situations, but not to detail. I'll get to it my way. But like I said, whether we don't get many snow games here in Philly, but we are going to get one in this matchup. Potentially 3 to 6 inches of snow is reported for this Sunday, and it's going to be pretty interesting. The winds will also pick up in the second half. So for the Rams, they're going to be playing in an uncomfortable environment. It's already going to be uncomfortable playing in Philly anyway for any opponent, but with the weather not being on their side, do they have any chance to pull an upset? And obviously for Eagles fans, we already mentioned about the Detroit-Washington game. Washington pulls the upset. Half of us will agree with that. We could be having another NFC Championship game in Philadelphia. But we'll not look into that. We'll look into this game. One game at a time. Big matchup. NFC title spot on the line. Go ahead.
I mean, look, do the Rams have any chance of winning? Yeah, of course. It's a one-game situation. I was at the game back in, what was it, 2003 in the NFC Championship, the Bucks. And everybody was like, "Oh, the Eagles! This is the Eagles' year. The Bucks have no chance. It's a Florida team coming up to Philly. It's cold, yeah, the whole deal." And we got our asses kicked. Okay, it is what it is. But I was there. It happened. It happened, and it could happen. But I don't think it's going to. The Eagles are the better team. It's in Philly. I mean, bottom line, coming to Philly in any time is tough, but coming to Philly in the playoffs in January, I mean, come on, man. LA, I mean, this team's not made for that. Saquon, I mean, dude, we can beat you anyway. Okay. Yeah, Hurts didn't have a great game last week. Okay. He didn't need to. The defense dominated. Saquon, he wasn't great, but he was okay. I mean, he could have broken off a 80-yard touchdown run at the end of the game if he wanted to. He was smart and just slid. Um, Bottom line, the Eagles can beat you anyway. They can beat you defense. They can beat you running the ball. They can beat you passing the ball. They can beat you a combination anyway. And the Rams, I mean, they're better now than they were when we played them earlier in the year, but they're not a great team. Matthew Stafford's, I don't even know how old he is anymore. What, 40, 38, something like that.
36.
Oh, wow. That young. Even so, I mean, he's for an NFL player, he's an old man. Um, I got no faith in Kyron Williams. I've never liked the guy to begin with. Um, and he's a Notre Dame guy. But nonetheless, I never thought he's some great running back. He's a product of the system. I mean, the only thing that worries me about this game is those two receivers, Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua. Okay, I mean they're studs, but we got a dominant secondary, man. I mean, Darius Slay, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. I mean, if there's any team that's going to shut down the Rams receivers, it's the Eagles. And I think it's going to happen. I think we're going to get a lot of pressure. That Rams offensive line has never been good. I mean, it's still not good. It's nothing special. We'll get pressure, and our offensive line should mostly dominate. I mean, they got some young players in there that have a lot of potential. Jared Verse, Brandon Fisk. They got some players on their D line, but dude, they're not going to compete with Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata. I mean, come on, man. We got a dominant offensive line. We're going to own the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball, and that's the game. So, Eagles win. Out of all the 4 games, I've picked all, not necessarily underdogs to win them, but to cover. This one, the Eagles cover. Minus 6. Eagles win. I'll say 37-27.
Okay. All right. Well, as you know, we met these characters back on week 12. For some reason, it felt like it was longer than that. It was late, just late November. And as you remember, we ran all around him. My man Barkley had 26 carries for 255 yards, 2 touchdowns. One was a 72-yarder. And Hurts added 39 yards rushing. Game had 22 yards. So as a team, they ran over 300 yards on them. And Hurts, hey, passing wise, 15 for 22, 179, 1 touchdown, no picks. Cool. That's all I need. That's all I need. Just do what you need to win. And there's been a whole lot of chatter about how bad he was last week. Hey, I would love for him to, or everybody to just light it up and finish the game early and not have to sweat it out. But as long as the W's keep coming, I can't complain. And I might add, if you look at the stats, Mr. Hurts is number 5 on quarterback rating. I know people don't think so. Now it's funny when you look at the stats with the other guys around him in terms of yards, because everyone around him has over 4,000 yards. He has under 3,000 yards. Fine. Because we are a running team. I know Lamar does have over 4,000 yards, and they're a running team also. But what he has done since the bye is said, I'm not going to make dumb mistakes. So yeah, maybe he's a little more hesitant. Maybe he's checking down a lot. Maybe he's taking more sacks than he needs to take. I wish he'd just throw it out of bounds sometimes instead of running around and taking a sack. I think those are dumb. But he has been playing winning ball. The only loss we've had since the bye was when he got knocked out. Think about that. He hasn't lost a game since September. And that he started and finished. And that game was nuts with Washington, where we got 5 turnovers and trying a way to lose. So it's an easy call for me. Rams going through some things out there in LA. They gotta make the trip out here. It's gonna be 20, no, it's gonna be about 30 degrees, and as you mentioned, a good 80% chance of snow on the ground. And there's no way, after what we did to them in LA, that I at all am concerned of them coming out here and shocking us. So on that note, Eagles 31, Rams, we'll be lucky to get 17. And they are the last leg of my triple play parlay. Now, I also have a separate one just on them alone. It's a shame it
Good.
doesn't want to show up.
Okay.
So
Make up the
I
running
got
back.
three
Yeah.
tickets, but one is just the Eagles, just in case the other parlays don't come through. I may even go down and add a few more dollars tomorrow. I'll see how I feel. So I might be down at the car show. But that's how confident I feel. The spread is 6. It was 6.5 for a second, went back to 6. But no brainer. No brainer.
Um. Well, we're going to get some unfortunate weather here in Philly, and uh, I don't think the Rams are going to be used to this kind of weather. So, you know, uh, I mean, honestly, I was hoping we would play the Vikings, and that turned out to be a shit show in the Viking era
Yeah.
over there. So,
Yeah.
with this team, my only concern is their receivers. If we stop them and and contain them, we'll be able to win this game. And Stafford's mighty old, and we just are the better team. So I agree with Matt in his opening that the Eagles are going to cover. Um, I think they covered last week, and in a game that was, we kind of just didn't play our best, but we still won the game. Uh, I don't know if it'll be 2 scores. I think it's going to be in this kind of weather. It's probably going to be a little bit more scoring, and we're probably not going to use Elliott that much. So, I think we're going to be going for 2 at least once in this game. So it's going to be 26 to the Rams, 18.
You picking the Eagles, right?
Picking the Eagles, yes.
About to say.
That's the Eagles 26, yes.
All right, all right. All right. I see Shaq putting up the matchup from back in November. Obviously, that was a hell of a game. And I really thought when we went out there to LA, it was going to be a high scoring, wild matchup, but that defense kind of shut them down from the second quarter on. And Saquon just went crazy running like I've never seen him before. Uh, like I said, but it's going to be different this time as far as the situation with the weather. Like I said, it's going to snow. It's going to snow a lot. It's going to be colder. I mean, obviously, it's going to be an interesting matchup. But like I said, can Stafford handle it? And that's the question mark. Because obviously, I think the secondary is going to do what they do. C.J. Carter Johnson can get interceptions like Asante Samuel used to do back in the day. He could get them on a dime. And so I'm not worrying about the passing game that much. And there is no running game. I mean, like Kerwin Williams can be a decent runner. They're going to shut that down real quick. So really, it comes down to our offense. AJ Brown, a lot of questions about him. He has this knee problem. They're talking about him. He's questionable going into this game again. Will he read a book? I mean, I hope he doesn't read a book. I just hope he can play like the AJ Brown we know he can play. But obviously, I know that, looking at this matchup, I am a little concerned, but I'm not too concerned because, like I said, I mean, I know what I'm getting out of this team. I know what this defense is capable of doing. If the defense is right, then you don't have as much concern as you would if the defense wasn't. And we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously, it's going to be interesting to see how Jalen runs. But remember, we know Jalen can run, and he ran last week. So, like I said, if he has to run, he has to run. So It is what it is. So I really have no concerns, serious concerns, but you never know with the Rams and what they could try to do because they could act like a bad team and try to do some trick plays just to keep their asses in the game. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles will take care of business. Is it going to be a blowout? Probably not. But the Eagles will cover. Like Matt would say, most of these will the underdogs will be. This will not be a dog cover. So I got the Eagles winning this matchup and moving on to the NFC Championship game. Will it be on the road? Will they host it? We won't know until 6 p.m. on Sunday. But the Eagles will win and move on to the NFC Championship game. And the final score 29-16.
Cool,
Okay.
cool.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
The only
sir.
thing that would concern me about this game is, you know, um, I don't think that the weather is going to be as big a factor as some people think. Like people just like think, oh well, West Coast team, Florida team, it's a lock. I'm not going to go that far, but it does give you an advantage for sure. Um,
Yeah, I think I heard that Matt Stafford is like 1-5 and under 40-degree temperature, something like that, because he's not used to playing in cold at all. Because we all think about Michigan, he was inside. Then he goes to
yeah,
LA, he's out in the warmth. And so we'll see how well his release is. It's a big difference when he's throwing a hard rock when he ain't used to it.
Yeah.
But even that, I'm not even concerned where we are. We can go back to LA and beat him. I ain't worried. I just ain't worried.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. The Eagles are just the better team. That's the thing. They're just the better team. It would take a big collapse to lose this game, which you never know. We've seen that happen before, but um, I don't think it's going to happen.
You think
No.
you think Sirianni's going to be a risk taker in this game as well?
Why? He better not be.
No.
Keep it nice and
No.
simple.
No.
Well, no, I think he will be because with the weather that's coming, he's not going to be, you know, 4th and 3 from the 20, kick a field goal. He's going to say, just go for it.
Oh, in that regard, yeah. But I
Oh,
mean, I think the running game is going to be paramount, and he's not going to be putting the ball in the air that much. They shouldn't be,
nah,
or the offensive coordinator is not going
I
to put the ball.
mean like 4th and 7 at the 50. Do you punt or go for it?
With the weather, we're going for it. That's not even a question.
Yeah.
All right.
It-
Well, we have one more bonus pick. Obviously, one of us is excited as hell for this. Only one of us. Some of y'all other two will figure that out. But obviously, Notre Dame and Ohio State, coming off of two embarrassing losses earlier in the year in the regular season, made all that up, went through the tough, rigorous 12-team playoff. Not really that tough. And they have reached the national championship game in Atlanta on this Monday night. Obviously, these are two tough defenses, two quarterbacks that, yeah, we'll see. I mean, they could be pros, maybe backups. We'll see. They're not neither are coming out of this draft that I know of. But we'll see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be a low scoring game, at least what the paper says. We play with paper, right? But interesting matchup. Now, with Matt having love for one of these two teams, he's now allowed to go first with this matchup. So
Okay, okay.
Shaft, go ahead. So Shaft, go ahead with your prediction.
Well, all right. Notre Dame, Ohio State. It's a shame that I don't really like either team. I'm tired of Notre Dame with the NBC contract, all their home games and all their away games on ABC, except when they play Navy, it's on CBS. But it's always on the network. They just want to be big, Mr. Independent. Then Ohio State, I'm not a big fan of them. The coach has that hate the face. Um, I love that Michigan took it to them, but they rebounded big time. Here they are standing for the national championship. Um, I believe, and from what I've seen, what little I've seen of both teams this year, I watched the last game Notre Dame was. I didn't watch much Ohio State in the playoffs, but I just been seeing their scores. But I am going to lean on Notre Dame, and I think they will pull this off with a. I think it's going to be a nice high scoring affair. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. So I think 31-24 Notre Dame.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right,
Well,
John, go ahead.
I mean, I think I told you guys last week or the week before, I really thought, Notre Dame was going to win the championship. It's not that Boy's a big fan of Notre Dame. It's just, you know, I think, I just think, I mean, that Notre Dame, I think they were one of the top teams even before the season to win the whole thing. And now that here they are. You might have lost me here. I was underneath the
No, we
tunnel.
got you.
But, yeah. But other than that, I think, I mean, I'm still gonna watch, even though I'm gonna be working, because football's on. Maybe put in the rest on or whatever, too. But I think that Notre Dame, I think it's actually gonna be like a slugfest. I think it's gonna be whoever scores last wins this game. Ohio State is the favorite, and I don't really know why. So, I mean, Matt might have more insight on that, but I just think Notre Dame covers. And do I see them winning? I mean, I don't really see them winning, even though I did say that that they are thought they would win the championship this year, but I'll still stick for them with now, even though it won't, surprise me if Ohio State does win. But I'll go with Notre Dame. Notre Dame's gonna win. It's gonna be 34-31.
Okay.
Okay, I gotta go next here. Since we have to save the floor for you, Mr. Notre Dame fan. All right. Like I said, I mean, these two teams, I can't stand either of these two teams. Me and my buddy Mike were laughing week 2 when Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. We were laughing even harder when they lost to Michigan when Ohio State lost to Michigan. Both schools were crying and wondering if they lost their shot at the national championship. But because college football is a monopoly, and the way they put the seeding and all that was ridiculous, giving teams like Boise State and Arizona State a bye. I mean, come on. I mean, whatever. And like I said, it fit right into both of their hands. And like I said, I mean, look, Notre Dame. I respect Marcus Freeman. I think he's going to be he's a really good coach, and he's done a very good job with that school. But it's Notre Dame. It's overrated. I mean, Regis Philbin, his ghost is living down. Like, I told you they'll be there. They'll be there. And then with Ohio State, even though I'm not a college football, I don't have a favorite college football team. I can't stand Ohio State, and I damn sure can't stand Ryan Day, the ultimate dick rider. Oh my god, oh my god, and he just everybody he's like Nick Sirianni in the NFL. He's their Nick Sirianni. Will he lose his job? Could he get fired? Will he get fired? All this bullshit. But somehow, every year, this team's always in the hunt for the national championship, and here they are. And as much as we would think that this is the best chance Notre Dame has had to win a national championship in 36 years, I can't say it's going to be a mismatch, but I just don't see where Notre Dame wins this matchup. Now against this Ohio State. Now against a team that's prepared. Now against a coach that should know his role and also shut his mouth. But also the fact is, at the end of the day, look, Notre Dame is a cute story, but they're Dallas Cowboys without the I can't win in a certain round drama, but they just can't win a national championship. Not in the last 36 years, and not and now on Monday night. I got Ohio State winning this. I'm sorry. As much as I hate to pick this is like you, Matt, last year with Kansas City and San Francisco in the Super Bowl. This is a matchup I barely care to watch. This is a matchup I barely care to listen to. And unfortunately, I can give two fucks about any of it. So Ohio State's going to go and do what Ohio State does. You're the better team. You're the better market. You got everything right. You got all the elite guys. You should win 42-24. And that's exactly what you will do. Because if you don't, Ryan Day should get his ass fired, losing to an independent. You jackass.
My goodness.
Yeah. I mean,
Next.
independent versus conference means nothing. It's a bunch of nonsense. I mean, you could talk about Penn State playing, one or two ranked teams a year. I mean, come on, man. It means nothing. Bottom line, Notre Dame, they had one bad game. Ohio State had a couple bad games. These are the two best teams in the country. I mean, come on, man. What is it? They played. These two teams ran the gauntlet in the playoffs. They played a lot of tough teams, and they won. This is how it's going to be. You don't like it? Tough. This is how playoffs work. All of a sudden, the NFL has playoffs, but now the college football can't. Come on. So, bottom line, this is how it's going to be. Notre Dame versus Ohio State. Yeah, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. These two teams both have good defenses. They both have good running games. Neither team has a great quarterback. I know you said, I know, Rob, you were like, oh, well, maybe they can be something in the NFL. No, neither of those guys are ever going to be anything in the NFL, either quarterback. But,
I think one of them will get drafted.
They might get drafted. That doesn't mean they'll be anything. They're garbage. They're garbage quarterbacks in the NFL. In college,
I'll say this: they'll get drafted above where Tom Brady got drafted.
Well,
that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know.
That doesn't mean much. You're talking about 6th, 7th round, a guy that maybe, you're talking about like a 3% chance of a guy even being a quality backup quarterback. It's garbage. They're both trash, but it's college football. So,
why is Ohio State favored by 9.5? I didn't even look at that until just now. That's huge.
Well, it's the name. It's name brand. Right now, Ohio State is on the level of Alabama, Georgia. They get all the 5-star recruits. So yeah, everyone's going to bet Ohio State, so that spread's going to go up. But Notre Dame has an elite defense, and they got an elite defensive line, and they're gonna keep them in the game. We saw it against Penn State last week. Notre Dame's defense kept them in the game, and in the second half, Riley Leonard and that offense did just enough to get the victory. And that's what's going to happen again. Ohio State isn't that great. They don't have a great quarterback. That's the difference. If they had a great quarterback on top of everything else, yeah, okay, Ohio State would dominate. But they're not. They don't. Notre Dame wins this game. That defense, Marcus Freeman built this defense. Brian Kelly is a fraud. He's proven he's a fraud. Marcus Freeman came in, built this defense, built this team in his vision, and his vision is the national championship, and it's going to happen this Monday night. Notre Dame. They haven't won a national championship since what?
1988.
88, yeah. Lou Holtz. So
Matt
they're going to win
Stafford
it
was
this
born
year.
that year.
Yeah, they're winning it this year. It's happening. Notre Dame final score 23-20.
Now ask me this: when they win the national championship, will you strip naked and run around going crazy?
Well, I wouldn't do that for the Eagles or any team.
Because your love for Notre Dame is like, oh my God, man, they just won me the national championship. Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
No, really. I just like the team, man. Just like I like the Eagles. It's my team. So,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna cry if they lose, but I'm also I'm not gonna jack off on camera if they win either. So,
Please
I didn't say
don't
do
do
that.
that.
I didn't say jack off on camera, but I'm just saying,
hey,
people do crazy shit when their team wins.
Oh, like the Eagles fans that's eating horse horse
exactly,
doo
exactly.
doo. Yeah,
Like I
some
said,
people are
I
crazy.
know Mike probably would have done the same thing if Penn State was in this position, but oh
Yeah,
well.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So,
that's all we have for this episode. Join us for the look back on Wednesday. Hopefully it'll be a longer show and hopefully we'll have a special guest. And obviously our big story will be, besides looking back on the games and the preview and a small look into the conference style games, head coaches and where they might go. Matt and I will do something we've never done before on the look back. We're going to look at we've done this. We've looked into head coaches and the jobs, but we're going to predict the coaches and the jobs that they will go to if
yeah, we
not
can do that.
already. If not already. So we're looking forward to that on Wednesday. Should we get it right or not? We
All
won't get
right.
it right, but
And
but that's Matt and I will do on the Wednesday look back, and we will have the FUs and dummies of the week, and maybe we'll slip in a disappointment and surprise this week.
Yeah,
But
yeah. We'll do all
Hopefully
our
it
normal
won't be longer. I think hopefully it'll be longer. It don't have to be
yeah,
longer.
and the
but we'll see what happens here. But critical weekend, probably the most critical weekend of the postseason until we get to obviously next weekend for all the marbles. But that's all we have for this episode, and enjoyed it. Enjoy it. Hopefully your team wins and go Birds. That's all I can
Yeah,
say.